So you're going to hear something because I lifted this from my talk last night because I thought it seemed so apt. But you've heard it, so pretend you didn't. And also, I think it's important to reiterate something that means a great deal to me. People will often ask people like us why the government should do for people what you're supposed to do for yourself. And they, in particular, say to me, well, come on, you came from Puerto Rico, you had a hard time, you had a hard life, and you did all right. And my answer to that is always, tell that to the parent who, and you already covered this really in a way, who has worked a bake sale, who has held a car wash, sold a raffle ticket, or worked a silent auction, to travel a choir, stage a play, equip an orchestra, uniform a band. They get it. The people get it, that the arts are a critical part of education, and I feel very strongly, God, I feel like a Muppet. They're a critical part of education, of personal development for the young person, social development, and not just for their own little Bobby. The arts build community with a capital C, and it rhymes with D, and it stands for dough. See, they heard that, so they're not amused. Let me go back to being on the boat coming back from Puerto Rico, coming from Puerto Rico to America. It was a tough trip because the ship ran into a huge storm, and it panicked a lot of us. And as you all know from what I told you last night, we specialize in panic in Puerto Rico. It's something we do really, really well. It was a hard time coming to America in February of was it 1936, John? 1936, right. It's freezing. I had never seen trees without leaves on them. I'll never forget that. And I'd never worn a little warm wool coat and gloves and galoshes. It was really, really cold. And as we went on the bus to go to the Bronx to stay with my aunt, Titi, who had an apartment, and she offered us a room there with 2 other families, I said to my mom, what happened to the trees? And my mother, in a very practical way, said, it's called winter. That's how I learned why trees didn't have leaves on them. And I learned something else. I learned the word spick. I learned the word garlic mouth. I learned the word wop. But I didn't know the meaning of those things. Children are very tender creatures. No matter how rambunctious they may seem, they're very tender creatures. And all I knew was that whatever these words meant, I was a part of that anger and hatred, and I didn't know why. I grew up feeling very unworthy. I grew up feeling very lacking in value, human value, simply because of what happened on the way to school, on the way back from school, those many years ago. And what saved me was the arts. What saved me was my ability at that time. I did one thing, and I did it well for a child. I was 5. I danced. I used to dance for Grandpa in Puerto Rico. And I learned something very quickly from that experience. I learned that the applause and the appreciation was really neat. And I remember thinking, I like this. And I think I'm good at this, so I'm going to do this. That later translated into, I'm going to be a movie star. But the hurts and the arrows and the slings stayed with me for a very, very, very long time. The Rita Moreno you see now, believe me, is really a result of the little Rita Moreno who suffered those mean streets. And truly, what helped and saved me was my mommy, who, well, that's what we call our moms in Puerto Rico, Mami, M-A-M-I. She understood that if I could do that, if I could dance, that would help my feelings of self-esteem. And I went and took dancing lessons with a man named Paco Cancino, who was a very, in our area, a very famous dance teacher who taught Rita Hayworth how to dance. He was her uncle. She was Margarita Cancino before she became Rita Hayworth. And we didn't have the money for dance classes. We still don't have the money for dance classes, which is kind of why I'm here. And oh, how we could have used organizations that many of you represent. It would have been so helpful. We had no help whatsoever. And I simply want to say to you that this, I feel this is really life or death. I think we are faced with a president who honestly doesn't begin to understand what the arts is about, unhappily. And rather than insult and call the man names, I think it's incumbent upon us to go and fight our way in the most civil way that we can, but with passion for what this program really needs, and that's dollars, and that's what I aim to do today. I'm going to go for $1 for capita. Fuck it. I'm Rita Moreno, and I'm a Puerto Rican, a proud Puerto Rican. Thank you.